In 2018, you probably had your best year hunting.
Yeah, definitely.
You got your biggest buck ever with a gun,
Yep.
and then you also got your first 10-point buck with a bow. So why don't you talk about those stories?
Yep.
I guess the bow one first,
Yeah,
because
the
that
bow.
happened first.
Yep. So I think it was like November. It was later in the season, almost right towards the end of bow season. I was hunting for a while and just didn't see anything I wanted to shoot, you know. So I'm sitting in the stand right across from my grandparents. It's perfect. Sitting up basically on a hill. There's a big apple tree, 2 apple trees actually, and then there's a creek bottom, just full of bedding, and then you got the side of the hill. So I always love that spot. I usually sit there early season or towards late season. And I was hunting there, it was probably around 3:30 again, and I didn't really see anything all day. Nothing. One of those days, another slow day. And I saw, again, another red fox. I still have a video of it, the red fox. I'll send that to you.
Okay.
But, yep, the red fox came out, and I was like, oh, here we go again. I was like, same as my first deer I ever shot. And out of nowhere, a few minutes later, the 10-point comes out of, he must have been in Marion's. And he came out, I saw him, I was like, oh, there we go. I was like, it's game on. It was about probably a 32, 35 yard shot, the furthest I've ever shot my bow, at a deer at least. So I'm sitting there, pull back, taking my time, steps broadside, bat, let it fly, perfect, I hit her, whack. I'm like, perfect, did that mule kick, everything, tail goes up, flickering, boom, running. So I wasn't pulling back that much, I think like 50, 55. So when I hit, it didn't go all the way through the deer.
Right.
So there's just a hole in the top, like up higher. And so we couldn't find blood for the longest time.
Right.
So I was like, I know I hit him. I know I did. Like, I just know for certain I hit him. So we were walking around in that bottom for about 15, 20 minutes looking for him, couldn't find him. So I'm like, my dad's like, we should probably head back, just come back in the morning. I'm like, no, we'll find him. So I was like, all right, we'll do one more pass. So I just pick a random spot. I'm like, that looks good. And I just start walking. I'm like, oh, there he is, right at my feet. Almost stumbled right on him because it's so thick in there, you can't even.
Oh, it's very thick.
You gotta no, you just gotta swim through everything. It's so bad.
Right.
But yeah, we finally found him, and I was psyched. I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't even know it was a 10-point.
Wow.
I kind of just saw the rack. I was like, yeah, okay, that's a nice deer. And then just, but yeah, 10-point. I thought it was an 8, but that was also awesome. Biggest, most points.
Most points
Yeah.
that you ever shot.
Yep.
But then your biggest
Yeah,
came
my biggest,
next.
Yeah,
Same
that was
year,
a really good year.
gun season.
Yep. All
Let's
right,
talk
so
about that one.
So down in Susan's where I shot my very first deer, that 8-point, that's the same stand I shot my biggest out of with the gun. So Susan, our neighbor, my grandparents' neighbor, she loves watching the deer down there. You know, she'll tell us, hey, there's a big deer down here. So it's kind of like cheating almost, not really, but she's our camera for us.
Yeah.
So she texted my father, and she sent him a picture of this deer, and I was like, that's a nice deer, really wide, decent. He's not that tall, but he's tall. He's a good deer for sure, for up here at least. And so she texted that to him, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go hunt down that stand because he's been there for a few weeks now. So I go down there, I hunt, nothing, didn't see a single deer. Go down there again, hunt, not a single deer. And it's cold, it's midwinter, it's snowing, probably negatives out. So I go down there a third time. I'm like, all right, if I don't see him this time or any deer, because I didn't see anything last 2 times I was there.
Yeah, it's kind of like a hit or miss
it
place.
Is, it really is.
You really have to have
Yep.
patience sitting
Yep.
there.
And I was like, third time's a charm. Like, I put in almost 20 hours of this stand already. Like, no way I'm going back. So, I'm sitting there, absolutely nothing again all day. Finally, I'm just looking around waiting. I was sitting on my phone, and I hear something. Thought it was a squirrel. Look down, and there's this tree. And I look through it, and all I see, this deer lifts his head, and he's just going like this, and all I see was, I was just like wide. I was like, yes. I was like, that thing is huge. Like, this is definitely the one she got pictures of. And you know, like when you first look at a deer like that, you're like, okay, this is serious. Like,
Especially when you're seeing a bunch of smaller
Small
deer.
ones all
When you see a
season.
bigger one,
Yep.
especially around this area. I
Yep.
mean, for those of you who don't know, you know, we hunt in the Western New York area, and you know, if you we're not seeing 170-inch giants. Oftentimes, 100-inch deer to 140 inches is what we're seeing up here. So, other places around, it's not that there isn't bigger deer up there. There is, but a lot of times it's on farmland where there's a lot more food. Where we hunt in the Bristol Hills, it's kind of pass-through places. So we're hunting hard for long periods of time to get that type of buck that Ryan's talking about here.
Yep. So it was one of those things. I was like, this is the biggest deer I've ever seen, like in person, like anytime. So got my gun. I'm sitting there, it's cram stand, and there's one tree where it's like, I don't know, probably 10 yards away from me. One tree. I was like, he's got to walk there, or else I can't even get a shot, because I'm just sitting here like, it's so hard because there's a tree right behind me. So I'm kind of just sitting there waiting for him. And he puts his head down, starts walking up to me, and I'm just, boom, got him, ran about 30 yards uphill, dropped down, called my grandfather, he came down, my phone died, so I couldn't get really any pictures, I was just waiting on him, but yeah, that was amazing. He came down there, he was like, what in the world? Like, you know how he gets, and he was super happy for me, so I'm glad I got to, share that moment with him.
Yeah, I like that picture you had too. You propped his head up with a little stick.
Yeah, yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was a big deer, and we'll do a story on Grandpa Jones a little bit later, but one of his biggest deer that he shot, a 1992 buck,
It's a replica of that one.
it almost looks exactly like the one that you shot. It's just amazing how close they are. So, absolutely.